Hi everyone, so patch 2.6.9 is live for a few days already, and we have seen some of the potential that demoners have. Demoners are pushing extremely high in solo leaderboards. I think they're actually going up to 150 right now, or at least there's a 149 clear with an incredible time that is basically better than a 150. So yeah, Demon is looking like the strongest solo class right now. Probably not good enough for Foreman Groups, especially because of the lags and because Witch Doctor and Necromancer scaling is insane. But I want to talk over some of the bugs. And there are still some of the things present that we have noticed on the PTR, that we have given feedback on. It's still there. Most importantly, the so-called momentum bug, which is when you shoot a generator while strafing or shortly after strafing, you sometimes just don't get momentum stacks. And this seems to happen around 5 to 10% of the time. So this makes it so that instead of muscle memorying it, you actually have to always look at your stacks on the bar, and this is kind of inconvenient. And it's not really something bad for like the overall balance and so on of the build, but it takes away a lot of the attention that you can share between different things. And this is kind of the problem here. So apparently, I don't know, it seems quite hard to fix or so. It's also very inconsistent about when it happens, and it might have something to do with how fast you're attacking. But then again, I tried a lot of different setups with like high attack speed, low attack speed, and I consistently got this bug. So this is a bit weird, and definitely something that you have to keep looking out for. I was expecting this to be fixed, but it's not. So next up is the more important question: what the fuck is happening with Valla's Bequest? And well, I've been testing this a lot on PTR, and I've also been retesting this a lot on live. So the other day we did like a 5-hour just mechanics testing session on the live servers, trying to find out what's going on. And well, it's some really clunky and weird stuff. So what we found out is that Valla's somehow increases your overall DPS, especially in large pulls, but we can't really tell how much, and we can't really tell why, at least for a while. But then we figured out that after testing Valla's on a lot of different scenarios, basically what we did is we had like a DPS test of like a stack of zombies, and we made it so that our damage is always the same with like plus minimum damage items and so on, and it was also rather low damage, so we wouldn't kill them. And we made sure that the zombies didn't move. We made sure that I didn't move, and I was just continuously attacking for like 60 seconds straight, and we counted the damage number on exactly one zombie. And then we did the same without Valla's on this, and we counted the damage value on the same zombie again. And we consistently got like damage values that were like, I don't know, between 10 and 50% higher than without Valla's for some reason. But the thing is, when you actually use Valla's to shoot at something, the projectiles don't pierce. At least those generator projectiles from 4-piece bonus don't pierce. So, but what happens is that the normal Strafe projectiles, this little tiny bullet, that one actually pierces, but Strafe itself doesn't do any damage. So it was a little bit puzzling about what happened. And later on, we actually found out that what happens is that the Strafe projectiles, when they pierce, they can re-proc a generator later on another target. So this is what we found out when we were in Brawl, and we had some slow time bubbles, and we shot like 2 Strafe projectiles, for example, and it would pierce one guy, and a second later it would hit the other guy because it was slowed by the slow time. And this would proc another bowler for me, even though I was already standing still, not strafing anymore, and so on. So at one point I got 5 bowlers from 2 Strafe projectiles. And yeah, if there's like a certain delay between the hits, you can actually get another shot basically. And this is the mechanic that increases the damage. It's not the extra strafe damage on the Valla's Bequest, because it rolls up to 100% strafe damage. That one doesn't increase your damage. It's not the strafe projectiles themselves, because they also don't have any damage buff. It's the more generator cast that you gain from the 4-piece bonus. But it's really hard to tell what it does consistently, because it depends on exactly the monster pack size, it depends exactly on the positioning, and the internal cooldown of the 4-piece bonus is still present, but also really inconsistent too. So in some cases, we were doing some frame-by-frame analysis, and I was getting some bowler shots in as little as 1 frame apart, but it only happened once. Then we had like 3 frames apart, this also happened once, and then we had like some 5 frames, 6 frames, 7 frames, and then like the average is somewhere between like 9 and 10 frames or so. So this is still like the expected value of 6 shots a second. 10 frames is 1/6 of a second. And still with Valla's Bequest in the big poll, sometimes it happened that I didn't get a bowler for like 20 frames or so. So it's still really weird, and it has something to do with this internal cooldown and the proc being tied to a hit. So you don't actually shoot the bowler when you shoot the Strafe projectile, you shoot it when you hit something. And this is probably what's causing all of this weird behavior in the first place. So yeah, I don't really understand why they made it that way. I would have just, shot the generators when you shoot the Strafe projectile, but this is what it is now. And this is also the mechanic that we found out. That's the reason behind Valla's Bequest. So now the question is, how good is that really? And the thing is, it's very hard to tell. As I said, it's somewhere between 10 and 50% damage boost, and I think in some cases it can be more, because if the pack size is really large, potentially you could proc even more, and there might be some weird kind of like best case scenarios where you just get like an insane amount of generator casts basically. But what I tested on like medium-sized pulls of like 10 to 20 targets or so, yeah, it was kind of like this ballpark value that I mentioned. And yeah, maybe there's like certain monster types, certain conditions where that becomes even more crazy, because those Demon Hunter clears are actually surpassing my expectations a little bit. So I was expecting Demon Hunter to go, up to like 145 quite easily or so, but they're like a few tiers higher. And no one is really using Odyssey's End. And I actually tried Odyssey's End versus Valla's, not for very much, but I've done a few runs of each. And for me, I have to say that Odyssey's End is still performing at least on the same level, if not better. It is a little bit odd in my opinion, and I don't really know what's happening, but like no one is using Odyssey's End. Instead, everyone's going Valla's Bequest. And yeah, I would suggest that if you have trouble playing the build properly with Odyssey's End, then you should probably go Valla's Bequest. But I still believe that Odyssey End is going to win in here, unless we find some really crazy mechanics. So as I said, I just had limited time to test this, but we did analyze this for hours, and I can just tell that Odyssey's End is working as intended. There were also some doubts about it from some players, so I retested that as well. I had like a big poll in the GR setting, and I was looking at the damage values, and everything was exactly as expected. So Odyssey's End is fine, it's working, no bugs. Obviously the build is more difficult to play with Odysseys because you have 2 generators that you have to juggle with the right timing. But I also explained all of this in my actual guide, so if you want to check them out and learn it, I will definitely play the Odyssey's End version, unless the Valla will turn out to be significantly stronger, like at least 2 tiers stronger, which I strongly doubt right now. The thing is that with Valla also, the boss fight will take a lot longer than with Odyssey's End, because one of the big advantages is to have more boss DPS on the Odyssey's End build, because obviously you just deal much more single target damage with 150% additive damage, and the Valla's Bequest does nothing on a single target, because you don't get this pierce effect to get more procs. So we'll see, but overall this is what's happening, and it's just really weird stuff basically. So I doubt that Blizz is going to fix any of this, because, well, it's just a few days until season start, and Blizzard never really does any patches, at least after season started. So, yeah, I think this is just what we have to deal with right now, and maybe in the future they'll change it. So we have the momentum bug, which is more of a nuisance, but also, it takes away some of the enjoyment of the build, especially when you're farming as well. You want to know that, okay, every 4 seconds I have to do this one attack, and I will keep up momentum. And then, sometimes you shoot, and then you shoot again, and both times you don't get momentum. It really takes away some of the fluidity of the build, which is a little bit sad, because otherwise, this is amazing to play, I believe. It's quite strong, it's fun. And yeah, this momentum kind of like, cuts into that. And then, yeah, we have this Valla's Bequest stuff, and yeah, it seems better than expected, at least. It seems to do something. And the value of it depends a little bit, on the exact circumstances. This is what I can say. We'll see, later on in the season, when we actually have like, a month or 2 of, experience with pushing, and we see some crazy clears. But yeah, Valla's Bequest is probably going to be used by most people, and it's like the much easier version to play. But then there's also Odyssey's End for solo pushing that I would definitely recommend. What it means for the speed GR setups, I don't know exactly. So right now I would still suggest to have like triple DH and a C-bar, for example. But you can also go like a triple support with 1 DH and then replace one of the DPS DH with a Monk, for example, so you have like more consistent squirts uptime, and you can even go with C-neck. So it still seems like all these setups are going to be very close, and it's also going to be very close to the red meta. But yeah, definitely I expect like 80% of people to just play Demon Hunter next season or something. I mean, it's a little bit exaggerated, but you get the idea. There's going to be a lot of Demon Hunters. There's going to be lots of groups of Demon Hunters. There's going to be support Demon Hunters. So it's going to be quite amazing overall, I believe. So yeah, I just wanted to show you guys this a little bit to, for the people that don't really understand what's happening, because I was also really puzzled to see that, the PTR went down, and yeah, I thought we had stuff figured out. And then the patch goes live and suddenly everyone is playing Valla's Bequest, and it's really puzzling. So this is the answer. It's really weird. It's a little bit of a damage buff. It's probably worse than Odyssey's End, but it might not be. So this is the conclusion. And I guess we'll have to wait and see. So hope this information helps a little bit, and yeah, see you guys next time.